All right, folks. Welcome back to PrepperNow. It is November 29th, 2025, and this is your crisis report done by me, PrepperNow, on dedicated channel Crisis Report, and now streamed also to Rumble. We're brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. They are the channel sponsor. We are very happy to be partnered up with them. We believe in what they're doing. They help take your IRA or 401k and put it into gold and silver. This is something that more and more people are doing. So consider that. Link in the description. Other than that, there's a lot going on. This one is entitled Tense in Venezuela because there's a lot of tense actions going on, specifically with Trump coming out and saying that there's basically a no-fly zone. And so because of that, things are pretty crazy. So we're just going to, cover it all here. This is what we do here on the Crisis Report. Give you all of our things, our intel and information and everything else. I call this the most comprehensive news on YouTube. I don't know if too many that are doing as much when it comes to a bulk amount of stuff. So we appreciate you being here. We're going to get started here tonight. Please hit that like button, do the subscribe thing, darken out the bell, get the notifications, and we will see you on over the other side once we get through this. Water Tiger, if you want to go over to Rumble real quick and put a text message in the thing so I can turn you into a mod over there, that would be wonderful. Okay. Other than that, it's there's not a lot today because it's a Saturday. Saturdays are always slower, but there is a lot today because, this whole thing with Venezuela it's close. I mean, just for lack of a better way of putting it, we're pretty close to something going on. Jennifer Griffin of Fox News said that strikes are imminent a few days ago. You always want to do actions, no-fly zones, airplanes or airlines, stopping their flights to a country all out of fear that something is going to go down in a kinetic kind of way. Well, those are your signs. Jennifer Griffin saying one thing is one thing, but actual action, stopping flights, not going to the area, removing your diplomats and all of that, that's what we're looking for. So all right, let's going over here. I'm trying to get a mod over to Rumble because I need him over there for obvious reasons. And let's get this going right there. I don't know how to do this, Water Tiger. Hopefully I'm going to do this correctly. Let me just take one moment. There you go. Pop on them. You know what? I'll have to do this later. All right. Sorry. Let's get started on your crisis report for November 29th, 2025, tense in Venezuela. This is, of course, on Substack. Substack, we're growing basically everywhere but here. But that's because they put the thumb on the scale. I don't have to tell you that. That's because we're doing things right. Like one person said, it's because you're logical, you're reasoned. And I appreciate that. So that's how we're going to go. Substack, Subscribe Star, Locals. You can become a member here, like Gene W., Water Tiger, J Flow, others. We appreciate your support. And let's get started. I'm going to jibber jabber till about 5 minutes in, just get students into the classroom, and then we'll get started. So if you're watching this on the replay, always know that in about 5 minutes I get started with everything going. Okay? All right. Here we go. Bush. Retired U.S. Army Colonel Carl Nell says the United States has recovered both a UAP and non-human bodies, alluding that there are other species in the universe. Mr. Blue Beam on my shoulder. Yes, folks, it'll be awesome that day to sit up there and look into the sky and see the blue beams of intelligent life coming down from whatever they're being projected from. And we know that no one would ever use that to subjugate us. Hundreds of flights that normally travel through Venezuelan airspace are now rerouting after Trump issued his warning. Venezuela accused the United States of a colonialist threat after Trump urged airlines to avoid Venezuelan airspace, calling the action an illegal and unjustified aggression against its sovereignty. FBI Director Kash Patel says the full content of the FBI's Trump-Russia burn bags will be released to the public. Trump is warning that all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers consider Venezuela airspace closed. So, Rumble is a bit strange, Water Tiger, I know. They'll get it down. I like where they're going with things. They're just, they're moving slowly. One of Russia's largest oil terminals halted operations on Saturday following an attack by sea drones hours before Ukrainian negotiators were headed to the United States for talks on ending the war. Today, aggressive left-wing radicals attacked AfD politicians and journalists near the event marking the founding of the AfD party's youth organization in Gießen, Germany. We'll have a lot more on that because they're violent. An explosion occurred in Erbil, Iraqi Kurdistan region, Kurdish militia conflict reported. Ukrainian Special Service have claimed responsibility for the attack on 2 oil tankers in the Black Sea waters off the coast of Turkey. The attack were carried out using unmanned boats. We covered that as last night. Finland has launched a military exercise with 3,000 soldiers, about 70 kilometers from the Russian border. Occupied Palestinian territory is now in its deepest economic crisis ever recorded, with Gaza suffering an unprecedented and catastrophic collapse, according to a new report from the UN Conference on Trade and Development, or UNCTAD, presented in Geneva on Tuesday. Dr. Rajiv J. Shah, former USAID administrator and one-time head of the agricultural development at the Gil and Belinda Rates Foundation, now president of the Rockefeller Foundation, announced a next-gen storytelling partnership with the world's top YouTube creator, Mr. Beast. Proud to announce our partnership with Beast Philanthropy, Beast System, getting it going, bringing together a storied history of improving billions of lives with next-gen storytelling that inspires action. With Mr. Beast, we'll show that when kindness goes viral, big change is possible, Shaw wrote on X, accompanied by a video featuring him and Mr. Beast founder, Jimmy Donaldson. That's wonderful. I'm sure they'll systematically get that beast going for everybody. Trump's real plan for Ukraine, Russia, and the United States conspire to ruin Europe, according to Wall Street Journal. According to Western intelligence agencies for the Kremlin, the Miami talks were the culmination of a strategy aimed at convincing the United States administration to view Russia not as a military threat, but as a land of generous opportunities. Moscow can redraw the economic map of Europe while driving a wedge between America and its traditional allies. Agenda of the negotiations include the unfreezing of Russian assets on American terms, access of American companies to Arctic oil and Siberian minerals, resumption of the Sakhalin projects, and even the damaged Nord Stream. It is reported that Russia offered to return cooperation with the United States in space, including a joint mission to Mars. Trump's approach to geopolitics, business, is more important than borders, according to the newspaper. By the way, my serial downvoter on Rumble didn't like the fact that I was considering going on to Kick. So I have, in their name, started a Kick channel, which I'll be going when I go into PrepperNow. So if you're on Kick, which I've never used before, seems like a pretty good platform, we're going to start the live stream on there as well, okay? Because we're throwing up middle fingers to all these beastly like enemies and entities out there that are trying to control narrative. So, my city is so broke. Crisis in Germany is also hitting municipalities hard. End of the last year, the debt level of all cities and towns in the Federal Republic of Germany was 170 billion euros. This year, an additional 30 billion is expected. The mayor of Essen, Thomas Kufen, claims that almost every city in Germany is on the brink of insolvency. Bild cites the following data. Berlin deficit, 4.3 billion euros. Cologne deficit, 0.6 billion euros. Dusseldorf deficit, 0.4 billion. And what kind of people are running those? That's right, they're idiotic communist leftists. If this continues, municipalities will have no choice but to make radical cuts. Funding for swimming pools, youth centers, museums, clubs, all of this is in question. Why? Because the same ideology always leads to the same place. Venezuela rejected Trump's claim that the airspace above and around the country should be considered completely closed. In a government statement, Caracas called Trump's remark a colonialist threat that violated Venezuelan sovereignty and international law. Intelligence agencies in the United States have supplied the White House with coordinates of suspected drug trafficking sites in Venezuela and Colombia. Senator Lady Graham on Maduro said, "I hear Turkey and Iran are lovely this time of year." German member of parliament Julian Schmidt was attacked by a masked anti-AfD mob in Gießen because of big pussies. United States Department reportedly told diplomats to destroy visas that would have been given to Afghans. Newly released Iranian footage shows last minutes of the Iranian military personnel as Israeli attacks obliterated their air defense sites. Police in Gießen, Germany, stand idle while Antifa erects roadblocks on German highways. Why? Because they are basically paid for by the evil piece of crap that you all know, who also own the Germans or the police. So they basically tell them just let them do what they're going to do. It's either that or they're just big pussies and they can't stop them, but I don't think that's it. Antifa tried to block the roads leading into Gießen as the Alternative for Deutschland, AfD, launched its new youth wing. Thousands of leftist militants converged onto the city and clashed with law enforcement trying to reach the building where the AfD organized the event. Antifa assaulted not only cops, but reporters and passersby, and nothing says, "Come on over to my political ethos," like beating the crap out of people you're trying to entice. I got to tell you, why don't you go urinate on their legs? You'd probably have a little bit better of a chance of enticing them into your political ethos, which is basically just a couple of levels around violent retardation. But Antifa, of course, this is just how they operate. And they're not going to win anybody over. And you're going to notice that the people that follow them, like them, and enjoy this kind of thing will get less and less. And then they'll just basically go into oblivion. During the far-left demonstrations in Gießen, a riot police unit became encircled by a mass of anti-fascist thugs. And, of course, there are more video of all this. The only reason they are so bold is because the leftist German state has let them go unpunished for their activities for decades. If you do something wrong, you should be punished because this is what happens, and we all know it. China has quietly drawn up a strike map for Japan. Beijing is signaling that if Tokyo keeps escalating over Taiwan, it will treat Japan as a hostile state under Articles 53, 77, and 107 of the UN Charter. Iran urges the U.S. to open Venezuela's airspace, as Trump's announcement on the closure of Venezuelan airspace is a violation of international law and an unprecedented threat to aviation security. Sources in Caracas claim Nicolas Maduro is set to leave Venezuela on a private jet, a Falcon 900 registered in San Marino, heading first to Istanbul, Turkey. From there, the plan is a quick hop to Tehran, where Iran has offered him permanent asylum and protection. Now, all of this is conjecture. No one, knows any of this is actually true or not. But what we do know is something's going to happen somewhere. He's going somewhere. He's going to Tehran. He's going to Turkey. He's going to Russia. He's going to China. I mean, we don't know, but he's going somewhere. because they're about to drop the hammer. I mean, it's either that or this is the world's biggest head fake I've ever seen. Hey, you probably haven't heard about this one. 64-year-old Roger Borkham, a homeless man, was brutally beaten to death by 3 black teenagers in Florida. He was found lying in a pool of blood after the attackers rummaged through his backpack while kicking, stomping, and beating him. And nothing but silence from the media, which of course is truly sickening. But what do you expect anything less from such soulless, evil human beings like them? Iran's water crisis. Iran's Tasnim news agency reported that the Karaj Dam has gone off the grid from the power system due to a drop in its water level. Thousands of Airbus planes are returning to normal service after being briefly grounded, following a warning that solar radiation could interfere with the onboard computers. The aerospace giant, based in France, said about 6,000 of its A320 planes have been affected, most requiring a quick software update. Some 900 older planes need a replacement computer. So these things have been flying for quite some time, 6,000 of them out there, 3,000 of them in the air when this happened. And you have, rando volcanoes in Ethiopia going off after 12,000 years. Some other things. It's not like the sun is, doing any damage or kind of doing things to our Earth right now. I mean, this is all random. If you're wondering why Israel hasn't yet launched the long-awaited operation against Hezbollah in Lebanon, remember this: the Pope arrives tomorrow. Hezbollah would be wise to keep him close because once he leaves, the time is up. So once he is out of there, you could see some fireworks in the Middle East. Iranian Revolutionary Guards say the Iranian Air Force recently attacked bases loyal to Israel in the Iraq area and attacked military positions of armed Kurdish militias carrying out actions for Israel. United States President Trump to Venezuela President Maduro says if you do not leave power voluntarily, we will use force. Intense aerial movements ongoing over the Caribbean right now. Unidentified jets being reported now over the eastern coast of Venezuela. Looks like an entire simulated strike against Venezuela is currently underway. Never know if it might be an actual strike mission. All of this is kind of going on at about 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Democratic Representative Raja Krishnamurthy has introduced a bill to double the number of new H-1B visas issued annually, raising the cap from 65,000 to 130,000. And of course, that's just to make America more productive, right? Maduro says if we have to take up arms, we will, and we will have a destiny of triumph. During a speech commemorating the 105th anniversary of the Bolivarian military aviation, Nicolas Maduro asserted this Thursday that he is confident of victory should his government declare Venezuela a republic in arms. If we have to take up arms, we will, and we will have a destiny of triumph and dignity, affirmed. The president stated in his speech that 82% of Venezuelan citizens are prepared to defend the homeland with arms. He then busted out into some rando dancing. Reuters captured additional U.S. Marine Corps AV-8B Harrier II aircraft deploying to the former Roosevelt Roads Naval Station, Ceiba, Puerto Rico. The United States continues to conduct near-continuous air operations around Venezuela, which have concluded F-35B Lightning II patrols, AV-8B Harrier II missions, and FA-18F Super Hornet sorties launched from the USS Gerald Ford. Venezuelan locals report that the Chavista regime started to deploy troops and paramilitary units across the Colombian Venezuelan border in Táchira state, the most mountainous and distant area from Caracas within Venezuela, effectively moving to militarize the area. CNN Brazil journalist Lorival Santana says, quoting sources on U.S. State Department, that the U.S. Navy destroyer blocked and stopped a Russian tanker destined for Venezuela at the southern Caribbean. Nicolas Maduro and his team have attempted to communicate with the White House repeatedly following President Donald Trump's statement about the total closure of Venezuelan airspace, according to CNN. And oil exports to the U.S. have risen 162% in September from Venezuela. Their oil exports to the United States saw a significant increase in September, reaching 102,000 barrels per day. According to the latest data of the Energy Information Administration, Figure represents a 162% jump compared to August and marks the second consecutive month of notable increases in shipments to the United States market, reporting Banca y Negocios. Despite the sharp rise recorded in September, the flow of crude and derivatives to the United States remains lower than last year. Between January and September 2025, Venezuelan supplies averaged 500,000 barrels per day, representing a 31% increase compared to the same time in 2024. Locals report to Bellum Acta, a great channel I follow on Telegram, where I get a lot of this information, about mass movement of Venezuelan paramilitary convoys in central Maracaibo, capital of Zulia State, western Venezuela. And that is according to 10:39 Eastern Standard Time, so about 1 hour ago when we were tabulating. President Trump says he has lowered drug prices by 700% or more and is the answer to health care reform in the U.S. He also says he is the, quote, affordability president, end quote. That's right. American shoppers spent a record $11.8 billion online on Black Friday, up 9.1% from last year. Adobe Analytics, which tracks over 1 trillion U.S. retail site visits, expects shoppers to spend $5.5 billion on Saturday and $5.9 billion on Sunday. That's up 3.8% and 5.4% respectively. Better That You Do with Modern Refugee, a personal friend and one of my homeboys as a creator here, has a fantastic channel. He spent his day with his new grandchild, telling him all about certain types of things you should consider when you're carrying around your weapon and your plate carrier. Salesforce reports that American consumers spent $18 billion on Black Friday purchases. That's up 3% from a year ago. Luxury apparel and accessories being the most popular categories. Information on President Trump's sudden airspace closure above and surrounding Venezuela emerges, according to the New York Times, so it's totally truthful. People briefed on the Trump administration's Venezuelan strike deliberations have said that initial targets could be drug-related facilities, per the New York Times. United States equities are experiencing massive inflows. Investors have poured $900 billion into U.S. equity funds since November 2024, according to J.P. Morgan. Inflows accelerated in May and have reached $450 billion over the last 5 months. Net inflows into fixed income assets. Global financial conditions are easing. Global financial conditions have reached their easiest level since 2021. 2020 to 2021 period was when world governments and central banks stimulated the global economy on the largest scale in history as a response to the Ronademic. And something unusual is happening in the U.S. Treasury markets. China's Treasury holdings as a percentage of all foreign holdings is down to 7.6%, lowest in 23 years. Percentage has declined 20 points over the last 14 years, and as a result, China now ranks as the world's third largest holder. And the next headline says, buy now, pay later shopping hits a new record high on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Why? Because consumers are fighting inflation with retardation and debt. That's right. They're going in and they're trying to make it so they can get what they want, because God knows you got to have that TV. And the best way to do it is to take on more debt. Congratulations, idiots. President Trump cut tariffs on 100-plus products, including coffee, beef, bananas, and orange juice. Shoppers are unlikely to see big price drops even if food inflation eases. And the U.S. poverty line for a family of 4 is now $32,150. But investor Michael W. Green says it should be over 4 times higher than that, which would classify most American households as, quote, in poverty by his measure. So what do you think? What do you think? If you are making $100,000 or more, should you be considered impoverished? Or is that where we're heading? Because maybe that's where we're heading. Anyway, thanks so much for being here, friends. That's your crisis report for just November 29th, 2025. We appreciate you being here. I like seeing the people over there on the Rumble as well as you start to branch out over there. We'll be going on live to the old PrepperNows here pretty soon. We'll also be live streaming on X and Kick because, well, we know what the future holds. And as I just posted on my community page here on YouTube. I support the war on Satan. Plan on fighting it with you. That, my friends, is your crisis report. God bless you all. We are brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. Link in the description. Described earlier what they do. They take your 401k or IRA and put it into gold and silver. They are Better Business Bureau backed and one of the highest rating companies out there because they don't do it like others where they rope you in. They actually talk to you, they tell you about it, and then from there you make a decision. And even then, they've got a lot of different parameters that many of the other companies don't have. Why? Because they're looking to be helpful. Other than that, friends, we appreciate you being here. Join us on Rumble. Join us on all the other sites you can find. PrepperNow, Gab, Minds, Truth, Twitter, X. Subscribe, Star Locals, Substack, now Kick, all over the place. And we're expanding. Why? Because this universe is growing. As much as some people would like to try to stop that, I give the largest big finger in the world to them and say, F you. It's not going to happen because I love fighting, and I'm not going to stop until I kick you in the butt. So, all right, friends, appreciate you being here. We'll see you on the next one.